Hello, ladies of the Bone Circle. So I thought I'd just put up this video for you because one of the things I talked about in the introduction, which now seems a long time ago, was the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. And we're going to start to look at that in depth in session 10. And the reason that I didn't do it at the beginning is, well, William doesn't use the idea of the hero's and heroine's journey at all. And Darren uses the hero's journey, but not the heroine's journey. And the whole of the first session is about the hero's journey. And you sit there thinking, oh, this is nice, Joseph Campbell. And he talks a lot about different films like Star Wars and The Matrix. And you sit there thinking, oh, this is great. It doesn't actually relate to you in any way at all. So what I thought I'd do is show you the hero's journey and the heroine's journey towards the end of the training, when you can see how much it makes sense to you. However, because a lot of people's demons have been coming up, and you're probably going, well, what are these demons that are coming up? And what is this threshold guardian? What is it that Bridget's talking about? Now, I wanted to give you a nice long talk about that in the introduction, but because we were running so short of time, I literally flicked through it really, really quickly. So I thought it would be helpful for you to just have a look at this hero's journey. So I'm going to bring this up on the screen. So I hope you can see that okay. And it's not too cluttered with everything else on my computer. So as you can see here, it's this circular journey. It's called the hero's journey, and it was discovered by a mythologist called Joseph Campbell, who worked for about 30 years teaching about mythology, and he's amazing. And I do have a video series, a 6-part video series of him called The Power of Myth, which is an interviews he did for television. He's one of those real wise men who's just unbelievable. It's absolutely amazing to sit and listen to him. I'm going to go into this in a lot of depth on session 10, but I just want to show you the outline of the hero's journey. So the first thing is you can see that it's a circle. And the second thing is you can see that there's that yellowy line that goes across the middle, a dotted line across the middle. And above that line, it says this is the known normal world. Well, we call that your comfort zone. That's what you've been used to all the time that you've been alive in the world. And if you see beneath that dotted line, it says this is the unknown, this is the mystery, and this is the adventure. So that's the bit you don't know. Now, if you look at a lot of books and films, most books and films that are top sellers or bestsellers are based on the hero's journey. And a classic one is Star Wars, and another classic one is Harry Potter, just to name a couple. I'll go into them in much more depth when I do the series. But this is how it works, that we're all of us. This hero's journey works for all of us. And the entire training of the Bone Circle is a hero's journey and a heroine's journey. And we look at both because we both have both. We both have a masculine and we both have a feminine, and they need to be in balance. So this is the masculine journey. It's the outward journey. So what happens is, and I'll explain it as I said on session 10, is that we are born sovereign, what's called sovereign. We are born sovereign in our power, in our authority, God-given, and that's our greatness. But we get wounded. We all get wounded, and we get wounded in relation to that wholeness. We're just like pure love, but we get wounded in relation to that wholeness, and we all have wounds. We all have wounds, every single one of us. It's part of what it is to individuate, to come into this world and to separate, like we're the drop that came from the ocean. So we get wounded in relation to wholeness, and we feel incomplete. And because of that, we go into hiding. And the hiding is hiding beneath the identity and that great big iceberg of beliefs and all those 12 beliefs. That is our wounding, and that is what we're hiding behind. And we get on with our lives like everybody else. And then at some point, we get what's called a call to adventure, which is saying there must be more to this. I don't want to be doing this 9 to 5 on this treadmill, paying my mortgage. I'm burning out. I want to do something else. There must be something more to life. And that is the call to adventure. And you are called to do something different. And when you came to join the Bone Circle, that was your call. We talked about threshold guardians at the time. So the very first thing is you've got to come out of your normal known world that you've been living in all that time to go into the mystery and the adventure. And the first thing that happens are these threshold guardians. They're just like the temple guards outside a temple, or the food dogs that you get outside Chinese temples. Or sometimes you get big gateways, or you get falcons, or you get something that stops you going into temples or big houses. So the threshold guardians are there to guard the mystery. They're there to guard the unknown world. They're there to guard the world of your greatness. And what they're doing is they're testing to see if you have the courage to step through them onto this adventure. So, you know, when you haven't got time or you haven't got money, you don't think you make that date. Those are all threshold guardians, and you all stepped through your threshold guardians to come on this training. So well done. Congratulations. The next thing is, once you step through your threshold guardians, you meet a helper or a wise man or a mentor. And the person in this case on this training is me. I'm your wise mentor, teaching you all the content. And you go into training, which is exactly where you're at now. You go into training, and in that training, there's trials and tribulations, and there's failures, and then there's growth, and then you create new skills. And that's exactly where you're at right now. You're all in training, and you're going through different things, and you might feel like you're failing, and you might be growing, and you're developing your skills, and you're doing it with hero partners, which are your bone sisters. The very next step, which I think some of you have already reached, is demons and dragons. And what this is they're the things in your psyche that come up to try and stop you. They're your doubts and your fears, and those fears can get masked by anger, or they can be masked by upset. But they're your stuff that's been hidden deep inside of you, and they come up, wham, into your face like that when you start doing this work, because you're in that unknown mystery on an adventure. The hero's journey is an adventure, and the training is a hero's journey. So this is why I keep saying it's just demons, because all your thoughts and feelings are going to come up, and last ditch attempt to stop you doing this. Do you remember I said to you that your identity biggest job is to sabotage you? So this is its last ditch attempt to sabotage you now, because it knows you're well on your way to the journey. You're learning all these skills, so it's going to come up and hit you in the face. And this is what's happening right now for many of the people in the group. Not everyone, but many of the people in the group. This is where we're wrestling with the angel. We're wrestling with ourselves. This is Arjuna's battle with himself in the Bhagavad Gita. At some point, what happens is the more you fight your demons, the stronger they get. And then at some point, you actually surrender. You surrender. And you die to your identity. You die to the demons that are coming up and the fears. And it feels like you can fall into a hole at this point. Sometimes people feel like they're in a deep, dark hole and it's miserable, and they think they've made the wrong mistake, and they're disoriented. The abyss is very disorienting. You can't see where you're going. Do you remember I said you have to be out of your comfort zone? You have to be in the not knowing. And this is the abyss. But if you can hang with the tension, we talked about tension and hanging with tension. If you can hang with the tension while you're all disoriented and feeling like you're in a dark hole, then what happens is you're resurrected by a greater power, which is love. You get a revelation about yourself. Normally you get a revelation, you get an inspiration, and there's a rebirth, and you rise like a phoenix from the ashes. You rise through the power of love. Now remember, last session I said to you, love is the highest vibration of the lot, and also said to you that your greatness works on love. It's love, truth, and service, that triangle. So it's always greatness that's going to resurrect you out of this. It's always identity that's demons and dragons. It's always identity that tosses you into the abyss and disorients you, and it's always greatness that comes in with the power of love and resurrects you phoenix-like from the ashes. And when that happens, if you hold your end result at that point, your true end result, not the result you think you want, your identity thinks you want, and your true end result, and for all of you, your true end result for the bone circle is what it is that you tuned into with your bone sisters, and you got a symbol and you interpreted it and you chose it. That is your true end result. Anything else that might be coming in, like I want to be at every session, or I can't miss this session, or I need to practice, any of those end results are just identity led. So your true end result will resurrect you as long as you hold that end result while you're in the abyss. And at that point, you get what's called the boon, or the treasure, or your gold. And William Ward talks about the alchemy model, turning your lead into gold. And it's a similar thing. Your lead is all your thoughts and feelings, and your gold is your highest truth, what you love. And when you get that boon, it's absolutely amazing. And that's where the growth and expansion of awareness and consciousness comes, because you become wiser, because you've been through this journey and you've had to fight your own demons and devils and the stuff that's come up, which has been hidden from you from now. It's been at the bottom of the iceberg, and now it's come up, and now you can go, I know myself. And it helps you to grow in wisdom and consciousness and awareness. And at that point, you now come back out of this journey a much wiser person than you went in, because you know more about yourself and you know more about creating in terms of the bone circle. And then you return to go into service and share what you've learned, which is what I'm doing with you. I'm sharing what I've learned. And actually that's what Sadhana and Deborah are doing. They've been through this hero's journey many, many times. They actually went on the original training before me. I've got loads of experience. Wendy also has done all the training with William, and she's also a coach and has also got a lot of experience. And they're here on our circle in service to you. And then once you come out of that, it's a spiral. So it looks like you've come back to the same place, but you haven't. You've come up to another higher level, and then you start another hero's journey and another one. Now, each of the choices in your land of plenty is going to be a hero's journey, and the whole training is a hero's journey. I'll go into it in much more depth in session 10. But just so you know, you can have a look at this and see where you are right now on the hero's journey, and know that you're going to be resurrected by the power of love, and you're going to get your gold. That's all for now. Have a beautiful day. Lots of love, and bye for now.